Right now we're going to start with the introduction. I think we can just go one by one at this point.
Yeah.
With the introduction of our first speaker, who's Szilvia Szita. She's going to present the topic of using DDL with, oh, no, I needed that.
Oh, you needed that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. My bad.
A little bit of coordination, sorry. Using DDL with large language models to increase linguistic input at lower proficiency levels. She is an expert. She's actually working at the Faculty of Languages of the University of Strasbourg, where she teaches German, Hungarian, and linguistics. So as Carlos was saying, we have multiple languages here other than English, but English is included as well. She's also involved in the construction of several pedagogical corpora for Hungarian and German. So her research is quite wide, including new technology and corpora for pedagogical purposes. So thank you very much for joining us. We are a few minutes, 1 minute in advance, but if you are ready, I think you can start.
There you go.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so can you see the PowerPoint presentation, all of you? Yeah,
yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you very much also for the emails I received in Spanish. So that was really fun, to get information in Spanish and not in English or so. Okay, so my presentation is about using DDL with large language models such as ChatGPT or Bard. And the main purpose of this is to increase linguistic input at lower proficiency levels. And actually, as Alessandra already told you, my specialties are German and Hungarian, and German falls now into the category of lesser taught languages. So I think that even for German, that might be of relevance, what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so DDL, Carlos, you've just resumed or summarized what DDL can be. From the practical point of view, it's just a very personal definition here for today, is that maybe we can agree also that from this practical point of view, DDL is that I want to observe use language, or you said authentic data. Here with large language models, we can discuss whether it's still authentic data or whether it's something different. I want to leave the question open for now. And the main purpose is we want to become more competent language learners. And we want to master the language. And for this, we can observe frequency, linguistic repetition, variations. As you already mentioned, also, it's a kind of autonomous or personalized learning. And as I've mentioned, the question is, what is actually authentic data? What can we now consider as authentic data? So bear in mind just the observing language, and we want to become competent language learners. So that's our main focus. Today I want to talk about, evoke briefly the case of Hungarian. So I'm not going to talk about German, but all the examples I will show you will be in English, and you have to imagine that it's actually in Hungarian, so in a language that you don't know, but it didn't seem very meaningful to bombard you with Hungarian examples. So the case of Hungarian, this is a less commonly taught language, and it has a very complex morphology, which makes it basically almost impossible to introduce authentic data from the first level, so from the A1 level of the European framework. There are also very few resources available, as Carlos already mentioned, so this is a bit the disadvantage of less commonly taught languages. Open access is even more rare. And this means that we have a small linguistic input. So basically you have your course books and you have a few other resources, but it's very, very limited. I will argue that because corpus use, or let's say data-driven learning, is so important, you cannot postpone it until an upper level. So you cannot wait until your students have the B1 level or B2 level, and they will be able to use corpora on their own or read authentic texts on their own. I think that it's far more important. So they should grow up with these tools in order to really use them effectively, and also in order to want to use it, because sometimes you might wonder, well, what's the use of of a tool that didn't belong to my toolkit up to now, and now suddenly, why should I use corpus? Why should I use data-driven learning when I'm already at B2 level? So the public that I have are here at the University of Strasbourg university students, and at a Hungarian university we also teach adult learners as summer university. So it's not only tertiary education, but also like all kinds of people who come to these summer universities from all over the world. For the effects of language learning, or of DDL for language learning, what I want to propose is actually not the novelty is maybe not in the techniques that we can use, but in the input that we might have. Well, I totally agree with Brown, who says like language learning usually starts with a topic. So we want to talk about something, and this should be the first thing. So instead of maybe starting with concordance lines immediately, let's have a topic that is related, or that contains vocabulary and repetition and variation throughout several texts. I want to propose also that we can use ChatGPT or BART to increase linguistic input significantly, because you can generate language at the learner's level. And the texts are natural sounding. I must say that for Hungarian, sometimes for the time being, it needs some corrections. But I think that in 2 minutes, or maybe right now that I'm speaking, it's already solved as a problem. So since technology evolves so quickly, as Carlos also mentioned at the beginning. So one instruction that I gave to ChatGPT for today, but this is also actually something that my students do. They asked ChatGPT, please write me a text about London, Paris. So I encourage them to use cities, the names of cities that they know, so that the information will be known to them, but they will be able to observe the language that goes with it in Hungarian, and that a language learner at A2 proficiency level can understand. So I precise the language, I precise the topic, and also the linguistic level. And I encourage them also to do it as many times as necessary with the names of different towns. And it actually amounts to this. I have here 3 texts. We are not going to read all 3 now. We don't have the time for that. But here you can see London, and then I have Strasbourg and Paris, and then Strasbourg as 3 examples here. I encourage my students to generate at least 5 examples, maybe more, depending on also the time they want to invest, but at least 5. The color code means that I have highlighted some repetitions and variations in the text. So let's look at the blue one. London is a big and exciting city in the country of England, says text 1. Paris is a beautiful city in France, known for its Paris is a charming and romantic city, and Strasbourg is a lovely city in France, known for its beauty and history. So you can see that there is a repetition in X is adjective city, in, and then it's situated somewhere, it's located somewhere. But there is also lexical variation, especially in the adjectives. But none of the adjectives is terribly complicated to work with. And then if you look at the green, is the River Thames flows through London, and there are many bridges over it. The River Seine flows through Paris, and there are many pretty bridges, and the river called Ill runs through it, through Strasbourg. And finally, the blue one here, you can try different types of food, says the text about London. You can try tasty pastries, like, says the text about Paris, and you can enjoy delicious French food, like, says the third text about Strasbourg. So you can see quite a lot of variation, quite a lot of repetition. And of course, you can also ask yourself, well, is it also still authentic data? And I would very much like to discuss this with you, because knowing that it's based on huge amounts of authentic data, I would argue that it's at least semi-authentic what we see here. And the repetitions don't mean that it's the only way to construct a text about a city, but through repetition and variation, I think that students can have quite an impressive vocabulary related to this topic. You can also work with different tools, such as I'm using Sketch Engine here at the university, but I reckon that using or working with corpus tools is sometimes quite challenging. We have here access to Sketch Engine, so we use it here, but at the summer university, it's certainly a problem where we don't have this kind of access. You can see, for example, the most frequent words and then explore from these words. For example, you can explore you. You're all experts, so you know how to read concordance lines. I don't need to talk much about that. But what you can see, even in this small amount of data, so I generated 6 texts only, you can see the phrase you can see. You can see, you can try, you can visit, you can try, you can enjoy, taste, see, and try. So there is also, again, repetition and variation here. And actually something that really is very clear, that you in those texts is followed by can, while offering a possibility or something, and then something that's visual or something that's related to taste. Then you have the very simple prepositions such as from, and here I just want to point out 2 usages of from, namely the perspective. You can see the entire city from high up. The city, you can have amazing views of the city from the top. You can have a great view from the top, so perspective. And secondly, places of origin, such as from different countries, from Spain, from all over the world. I also had famous, but maybe I will skip this example for the sake of time. And I just want to show you basically the repetitions and variations that can make a skeleton for a new text that the students can write themselves. So there are there's a lot of important vocabulary and some coherence also in the text. So there are, for example, X is a city in a country known for this and that, river flows through it. Another famous spot is this, it's there is a cold, and so forth. So these sentences from the text can help and construct a new text, since I want to emphasize again, so language is there to talk about something and to create text, to have a topic. And here the topic is actually, as you can see, cities, which doesn't mean that you cannot make a dialogue of it and so forth. To sum it up, this is my last slide. So we can use large language models for DDL actually in combination with large language models to generate any number of texts at the appropriate language level. And again, I want to remind you that this is a huge asset for taught languages. We can increase the linguistic input significantly, and the accent lies on significantly. Students can observe repetition and variation even manually, so you don't always need a concordance there to repair, for example, to see repetitions and variations within 6 texts, because the texts are so short and obviously created in a similar or structured in a similar way. And it allows autonomous and personalized learning, because it's just a technique actually that you learn. You want to generate data about a topic that it interests you at your proficiency level. So there are, I think, many ways to explore this for the future. That's all I wanted to say. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Szilvia.
I hope I'm in the time. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Good.
It's really interesting. We saved your question about authentic data, so maybe we can talk about it during the roundtable.
But I guess we'll bring it up again when we start the roundtable. But how do you think it relates, the language generated by ChatGPT, useful as it is? How do you think it relates to actually authentic data, like authentic language?
Yeah, that's I think I don't have a very a strong opinion about that. It's just that I know a little bit how these programs are trained, and I know that they are trained by huge amounts of authentic data. So the result will be, I mean, we can also presume that the result will reflect authentic language use. So I'm not very worried actually about the data, but if you want, that's why I wanted to precise it. If you want to call it semi-authentic data, I'm happy with that too, because for Hungarian we don't even have semi-authentic data. So that would be the
actually
answer. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, what you brought up in your presentation is that even if one might call it semi-authentic data, it's extremely useful to create representation for lesser known or lesser taught languages in the world. Might help even preserve some languages that are at risk of disappearing, right?
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Stimulate more interest in learning them, actually.
Exactly. So thank you so much. It was a very interesting presentation. Do we have more questions in the chat? Someone.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah. It says Stephen asks, but as a developer, he would like to know if there are any ways that you would like new corpus tools to be developed to allow you to do things more easily or more fruitfully, like any functions or sketch engine or other tools, which would be nice to be a one-click solution. Just ways in which sketch engine as a tool can be improved to help you with user friendliness.
I couldn't. What I would like to see is that, but I know it's very difficult. It's more. I'm thinking more of spoken data, that we could have tools and have also the facility. But I know that it's quite complicated actually. So it's not related to spoken data, but I mean to written data. And otherwise, I like. I mean, is someone from Sketch Engine here? Is that what you are saying, or?
Yeah, if related also to ChatGPT. Yeah, if there's any function that you would like to see that it will help you your efforts.
I have to think about it. Maybe it will will come to me for the roundtable. But
okay,
thank you very much for the question.
Yeah, again. So another question by Catherine Bennett says, if the corpus you used in Sketch Engine was built from ChatGPT, is it built completely using ChatGPT, or did you use more data from Hungarian?
No. Well, we also have other corpora, so it's just one tool that is fast actually, and that you can generate. So you can tell your students, well, you are interested in fishing, so for you it might be relevant to learn I don't know vocabulary about fishing, or what I have seen actually, and I forgot to say that, although it's quite important, that the text that they write after these, maybe I should have started with this, that the text that they will write after having used this really tiny corpus of improves the quality. It's really way beyond anything that I've seen before that. So yeah.
We have a couple of more questions and then we will go on. So one is from Alex. If it's artificial intelligence, isn't it artificial data? Or if it's semi-authentic data, perhaps we should speak of semi-authentic intelligence. It's actually a question, or is it
it's a reflection.
Yeah.
But there's another one.
I don't find it anymore. It's gone.
Oh, it's okay. I guess it was.
Okay, we have another one. Okay. So Alex was saying, if it's artificial intelligence, isn't it artificial data? So
I don't know, because my husband works in artificial intelligence, and I think that I understand now pretty well how it works, and it's based on authentic data. So, well, artificial intelligence is what, how should I put it? Artificial intelligence is what we use to generate this kind of semi-authentic, or if you want, authentic. It's not authentic. I mean, you cannot call it authentic, probably, but it's not artificial in the sense that it's based on huge linguistic models. So it's only this kind of probabilistic thing that if you say, you know, something, it will be followed very likely by, let's say, you have 5 options and not an infinite number of options. So I think, well, that's really to open to discussion how you see these texts and what role they have. All I can say is that for Hungarian, it doesn't, it's natural sounding, let's say, as text. And sometimes, I mean, even compare it with something, you know, you can make the test, like if you show a text that it was generated by ChatGPT and the text written by someone, can you make the difference? And very often people cannot. I mean, they are both quite good, and when we write, we are also sometimes a bit clumsy in writing, or yeah. So I guess it comes fairly close to what we can produce. And once again, I'm talking about lower linguistic levels, lower proficiency levels. I'm not saying you should use it with B2 and C1, where you can already, you know, have other resources. But for example, for Hungarian, you have a manual that contains 2 texts about 2 cities, but you don't have anything more, because anything more will be like promotion films about, you know, a city that nobody knows outside Hungary, with a vocabulary that nobody masters at A1 level. And then to compensate for this is actually, ChatGPT is quite a good option.
Mm-hmm.
One final question. Can you share some insights on your experience with data-driven learning and large language models in teaching lower level students?
I think that's what I've just said, that the texts that are written after having used after reading these texts, like that the quality is much higher, and I think I should test it, because it's so new that I haven't tested like the retention, like how much is there for vocabulary retention, how much stays actually with them. So this I cannot answer them that. So for the moment, it's just a feeling or a kind of recognition that yes, the text or the quality of the text goes far beyond anything comparable from before. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was really an interesting presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It gave lots of ideas for our following roundtable.